up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, the Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Thank you for joining me here on Thursday, or whatever day of the week it is that you happen to be watching this video. But thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and showing your support for advertising-free and sponsor-free content. Thank you for enjoying that and showing your love for it. Now, today is Thursday. We do different things on Thursday. You may have seen from the thumbnail that this is a how-to-play video. So my friends, get ready to journey into deep space and take on forces far beyond your capability, yet somehow you're going to be victorious. So join me down the table, my friends, and we're going to find out how to play Galaxy Dice.
Sorry to disappoint you. Huh? You triggered my trap card!
Setup for the Galaxy Dice EX game is fast and simple. First thing you're going to want to do is separate out the 48 stage cards from the 16 boss cards. Those 48 stage cards you're going to shuffle, and then you're going to leave the deck face down in the center of the table, and you are going to reveal the first 4 cards from the top of the deck, creating a row off to the right. Now the 16 boss cards you're going to separate into 4 equal stacks of like bosses. So you're going to have 4 mecha bosses, 4 desert bosses, 4 ocean bosses, and 4 magma bosses. Each player will be given a double-sided strategy card to help them figure out the game, learn the game, and know the game rules, as well as starting off with 3 arcade tokens. At this point, setup is done. So you're going to have to randomly determine who the first player is going to be and get ready to start the game. So why don't we take a look exactly at how the game plays out. This 80s/90s arcade game simulation card game, which is kind of what it is, grants you 3 lives, so to speak. And we'll get to that in a moment as we're talking about the dice. So this is a push your luck style game where each turn you're going to have ultimately up to, but not exceeding, normally, 3 rolls in order to get the dice results you're looking for. There are several symbols that are found on the ship dice, and most of these are specific weapon attacks that you're going to need to match certain stages and bosses when you're confronting them. Missile, plasma, spray, and wave are the weapons that you're going to be looking to match up. Now, the other 2 symbols found on it are explosion and 1-up. So every time you get an explosion, you lose a life. Your ship is destroyed, blown up. But for every 1-up you get, it cancels out one of the explosions. So for gameplay, you're going to gather the 7 ship dice. There are times you will have the opportunity to use the blue dice. We'll get to those shortly. So you're going to gather up your 7 ship dice, and this is your pool of dice. Now, before you roll, you're going to have an opportunity to start using some of your arcade tokens. So one of the opportunities that you can do with this is that you can cycle through the available boards. So by spending one of your action tokens, your arcade tokens I mean, then you are able to get rid of the cards in the lineup and put out 4 all new cards drawn from the top of the deck. Now, when you're settled and fine and you have used up either all your arcade tokens or you're happy with the setup that you have for the cards, then it's time to start rolling some dice. Now, as stated earlier, you're going to have up to 3 rolls in order to try to match one of the stage cards. After each roll of the die, you're going to decide if you want to put any aside, and this is determined by try to match one of the stage cards in order to defeat it, to overcome it. You're also going to want to set aside any 1-ups you have in case there are any explosions. And if you do roll an explosion, you can cancel that explosion out with one of the 1-ups. Now, you are also allowed to use one of your arcade tokens to grant yourself a second chance, a second wind, I believe it's actually called, where this will then grant you an extra re-roll of those dice that you've rolled, ship dice and or boss dice, whatever the combination is, and we'll get to the blue boss dice in a moment. Now, remember that if you roll 3 explosions, that's going to end your turn right there. And the explosions cannot be re-rolled. The 1-up is the only thing that can cancel one of the explosions. If at any point during your rolls you have acquired the correct amount of dice in order to match any one of the stage cards, then you have defeated that stage. And you take that card and you're going to put it in front of you in your play area as a victory card, a victory reminder. And those points in the upper left top of the card are going to help you win at the end of the game, because the player with the most points is the winner. Now, if after your third roll you either have rolled 3 or more explosions, or you simply did not roll the right combination to overtake a stage, then your turn is over, but you are going to get 2 arcade tokens into your personal stash. Now, besides taking the action of tackling a stage, which I've just described, you can also opt to take the option to take the fight directly to one of the bosses. You can rush a boss. So what you're going to do is you're going to actively choose which boss it is that you want to tackle. And in order to do that, you have to have at least 1 stage card associated with that boss type. So you're going to need one of the mecha cards stages defeated before you take on the mecha boss, or a volcano stage before you take on the magma boss, and so on and so on. But if you have at least 1 stage, you can opt to take on that boss. Now, when you face off against a boss, it's a little bit different. You don't get your set 3 rolls. The amount of rolls that you get is directly in proportion to the matching type of stage cards that you've already defeated. So if you've defeated 3 magma planets, then you will get 3 rolls against the volcano, the magma boss. But if you've only had 1 of those stages that you've defeated, you're only getting 1 roll. Now, you can strike the core, as it's called, by spending 2 of your arcade tokens, and this will give you an extra roll in your fight against a boss card. Now, if you fail, again, likewise to the rest of the game and the stages, you will receive 2 arcade tokens into your pile. But if you defeat the boss, then not only are you going to get that in your victory pile where you've been putting the stage cards, but you are also going to get the opportunity in future fights to trade out, to swap one of your black ship dice for one of the superior blue boss dice. And most of the symbols on the boss dice are double strength, which is what makes it so much more powerful. And there's also a wild card option on it as well. Now, after you defeat that stage boss, you can no longer take on or battle stage cards from that same environment. So if you've defeated the mecha boss, you can no longer take on the mecha worlds in the settings, in the cards, in the stage cards. And the first player who defeats 3 world bosses will then end the game. At that point, each of the players are going to add up the points that they have accumulated, and the highest score wins the game. If there's a tie, then it's going to come down to the arcade tokens, and the player with the most arcade tokens, it breaks the tie and wins. Now, if it's still a tie, it suggests flipping a coin, or one of the arcade tokens, heads, tails, and that will ultimately determine the winner if it's a double tie. Now, there are a couple of variations, a little changes if you're running the game solo. So let's go over those real quick. Setup for the solo game is going to be the same up until you get to the point with the arcade tokens. Because at this point, things become different. Instead of getting 3, the solo player is going to get 30. And the reason for this is because everything costs you a coin, so to speak, anyway. Yes, if you're going to tackle a stage, you have to spend 1 arcade token. Anytime you want to tackle a boss, that's going to cost you 2. And if you fail any of these, unlike the 2-player or more that we just described, you're not going to get any. Normally, if you fail a mission, you would get 2 arcade tokens. If you fail to take on a boss, 2 arcade tokens. But here, no, you don't. You're literally playing the game until you're out of coins. Literally, you are going to play until you have no coins left. And since you're not getting any more coins, it's going to be fairly quick. Now, when you run out of coins, or if you've actually defeated one of each of the 4 different boss types, that will also end the game. And then you're going to count up your points and see where you stand. For every arcade token that you have left over, that's going to garner you an extra 100 points. And it just comes down to seeing if you can beat your own high score, which is a classic concept of the old 80s and 90s arcade games. And that, in a nutshell, pretty big nutshell, I'd say, is how you play Galaxy Dice EX.